Hi, my name's Dan Edwards, and in this episode I'm going to be speaking with Dalbir Kaur, who, in 2020, founded the Make Me Fit Club, which is an app which helps people achieve a healthier lifestyle through live sessions and information. In this conversation, we're going to learn a little bit more about the app and where it fits into the market as a whole. I hope you enjoy this episode, and if you'd like to see more, please feel free to follow and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what you enjoyed about this episode and how we can improve for future episodes. Thank you for coming. thanks for reaching out. So the focus of this conversation then is just going to be learning a little bit more about the app. We've of course already had a conversation or two, but I still feel like there's definitely gaps in my knowledge, but we're going to use this as an opportunity to educate myself, really understand it more, get that message out. And then I want to know, where does that fit in as the overall, the product within the market? How does that compete with what's already available? And how does it revolutionize? In your own words, I presume, on LinkedIn. So I'm really curious to learn a little bit more about that. But before we get into it, so in the first one, what I did, I don't know, shoot me down if this sounds a little bit weird, but my first question is, summarize your credibility. So the podcast, we're calling it Credible. What is your credible?
Okay, so my credible is I have been working, I'm a qualified personal trainer, and I've also been working in clinical trials for around 7 years. So my portfolio spans from drug trials, which is obviously drugs that you would give to patients that are suffering with a certain disease, from medical device trials where I've ran app trials that's trying to predict and prevent certain kind of diseases and respiratory illnesses, as well as emergency care trials. So I basically finished up being senior project manager of the emergency care portfolio. And so that's my credible. So it's first-hand, hands-on experience from training clients to partnering with other nutritionists, counselors, therapists, to then also running clinical trials and actually seeing that the research that has came out of clinical trials, at least pre-pandemic, was basically prevention and reducing the amount of intervention we give to patients was probably the best research that kind of was derived from the clinical trial sector, at least here in Birmingham, pre-pandemic. So yeah.
Amazing. And this is your first venture, right?
Yes, so this is my first independent venture.
How has that experience been? And bear in mind as well, you started in 2020.
Yeah.
How has that whole experience been?
So the experience of starting in 2020 was more so just a delay, because we started with developing an app, which obviously I've never done before. So I remember just Googling app developers here in the UK, and I was like, well, where do I go? So I went on to this website called Clutch, and I was looking at like ratings, and I was very much heavily influenced by the ratings and what they would be developing. I didn't understand the technicalities like React Native, the different kind of technical side of, you can't use a certain web app developer, you've got to use somebody who's like a full stack developer. So I was just kind of going through and the quotations were ridiculous. I was like, well, how am I actually going to develop something that's of substance without this enormous capital right from the start? Like, how do people do it? How do people go and make a startup, do it, be an entrepreneur, and into a whole completely new space with little or no experience? So I've got to say, this whole thing has been a massive learning curve for me. So starting in 2020 wasn't necessarily the biggest problem I had. The biggest probably barrier and challenge that I had to overcome was gaining knowledge in a completely different sector. Because although what we're doing on the app is very much in line with where I'm at, the actual product itself needed me to understand the business world, needed me to understand tech, needed me to understand marketing, needed me to understand working with lawyers and terms and conditions and privacy policies, and then actually how to then, when you have this product, how to test it, pilot test it, and then getting that data back and then making adjustments and then launching it. So that was completely different to anything that I've ever done. But what I can say is, with me, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And so I said I was going to develop an app. I said it was going to be a wellbeing app. I said it was going to be an all-live wellbeing app. And we just took every challenge that we had and we overcome it. So yeah, so that's the journey so far and the challenges.
So when did the app itself launch? Was that 2020 or was that?
No, so the app, it started development in 2020, but we launched 2022. So we launched July 2022, and the delay of that, we were supposed to be in development 9 months, but the delay of that came because of COVID. People weren't working, like the communication just wasn't there. We had to switch very early on from a few things that we were doing. But those 2 years to get the app into the live stage, before that we did have the pilot stage, so it was about 6 months before. So that pilot stage was very crucial in getting that initial feedback from the customers, what they actually want. And even though we launched 2 years later, the actual kind of 90% done product was around a year and a half.
Bit about your experience, at least, what put you in that space.
Mm-hmm.
What was the biggest, because obviously, as you firmly know, when you're starting a business, you're exploiting a gap in the market, or at least trying to do something better than someone else is doing.
Yeah.
What was that gap, or what was that need that you saw needed to be improved?
The need actually came from a personal journey of mine. So a lot of people in their 20s, they don't really know what they're doing. And that was the same for me. I was a little bit lost. I lost my grandma to cancer back in 2012, and she was my best friend. I became very closed off as an individual. And then through my 20s, I kind of started to go more into fitness, but I started to be very emotionally withdrawn, very difficult for me to form real relationships with people because I wasn't emotionally available. So as I started and continued my fitness journey, I became a personal trainer. And then through training clients, often when they feel safe with you, they start to open up about challenges that they're facing, not just physically, but mentally and with nutrition. And I'm obviously not a qualified psychotherapist, I'm not a counsellor or a nutritionist by any means, but there was that gap. And then when they started to open up to me, I started to feel like, oh, actually, I want to be there for you, but I kind of can't. So that's when I took on, that's when I started seeing a counsellor and just started to work through kind of the whole, why am I being emotionally unavailable? Because I know that's not healthy. I can see that. I'm self-aware in that sense, and I want to be able to give my clients the full experience of training with me, and I can't. And then the second thing to that was, although they can share and I started to become more open, there was still a huge gap in nutrition and therapy and training. So I was like, well, why are we treating well-being so in isolation? Why are we having personal training as being a very isolated avenue? therapy's all the way over here, nutrition. I mean, if you ask the general Joe Blob public about what a nutritionist does, most wouldn't be able to tell you. And if we treat well-being as one-dimensional, people are going to get a one-dimensional service. So when Make Me Fit Club was formed in my mind, it was how do we create a multi-dimensional service that helps people tackle their lifestyle in fitness, mental health, and nutrition to then sustain long-term changes rather than focusing on one area of well-being and then doing it for a short period of time because you're not seeing the full effects, because you're not targeting the other areas of well-being. And that's quite often what you see with like programs, or if somebody goes to the gym and they're like, New Year's resolution, I'm going to go to the gym, they often don't keep up with it because for one, they're alone, for two, they don't know what to do, and for three, they either have they don't have the motivation, the discipline, the mindset, and the nutrition probably hasn't even been looked at. So they're trying to do things in isolation. And Make Me Fit Club is about providing that foundation across all three. So they can actually go in and say, you know what, I'm going to do this, and then stick to it.
So you've spoken a little bit about there's nothing in the market that does anything like that. So I guess that kind of covers how it's unique. It's bringing these different avenues together in one place and then backing it up with the support network of a community to push each other and keep everyone engaged.
Yes.
What would you say then from that? What is the strongest aspect of that? What's the strongest offer that you have now for it?
The strongest offer that we have right now, and it's not just that we're multidimensional, it's we're an all live app. So we don't hire a small subset of individuals. What we do is we onboard qualified and insured professionals that actually see that lifestyle changes is what is needed to help people. So when I say we onboard qualified and insured professionals, think your personal trainers, your fitness instructors, therapists, counsellors, nutritionists from all over the UK. So not only do people get, our members on the app get a real person at the other end of that line, they also get the most up-to-date knowledge, the best qualified. You know, we're not just pushing out a program that follow this program. It's about connecting people that's struggling with real people, real experts, real UK qualified experts that can help them bridge that gap in what they're struggling with. And then also it increases the clientele for the professionals that's, you know, trained years to be in this profession. What you currently see is like, if you was a personal trainer in a gym, you pay to rent that space to train clients, and then you still have to go and do the legwork of finding these clients. On our app, you've got clients that want to make this change, and you run classes to then bring on those clients to then have one-to-one sessions with yourself. So it's not just multidimensional, it's being an all live app and actually acting like a marketplace for here's your professionals, here's your members, come together and create those lifestyle changes on Make Me Fit Club.
Am I right in saying as well though, we don't have to go too deep into like exactly how much you do track and what data is recorded right now, but in the same way as the people that you're catering to, well, you're catering to both the professionals as well as the people benefiting from it. But as well as that, when you said that all these different things that people need are in isolation, the personal trainer is not speaking to the therapist, vice versa.
Yeah.
So in a way, there's also added value of all the data's in one place. So these people that you're employing for your help, they now have a much better sense of how have you been, because you might not necessarily feel comfortable being honest. You don't necessarily have to say anything. They can just see, okay, here's the progress. I think she just needs a hug today, or something like that.
Yeah, so like, it's really good that you said that, because that was my next point. So co-creation is very big on the app. So if you've got a personal trainer that sees that you can actually use therapy, therapy can really help with not just your physical progression and your fitness progression, but that can help break down the barriers that's been holding you back. Do you feel comfortable with me referring you to a therapist on this app that I've worked with before? Yeah, I do. Then they go and that individual will meet with that therapist. After that, what they would then do is co-create a program that's delivered live on the app specifically for that individual. So you're not just working on your fitness now, you're working on your fitness with mental health. And same if it's a nutritionist. So say if I'm a PT and I see somebody that's really struggling with their nutrition, that is something that, okay, this nutritionist can really help with, your binge eating and help create a personalized plan for you to follow, and we can go through it, and we're co-creating to create this whole completely new lifestyle for you that's attainable.
Well, maybe I can get some help in my binge eating. But aside from me and my binge eating, who's this specifically catered to? Because the question I'm coming on to as well is, who's it catering to right now, and how does that fit within their lifestyle? Is it something brand new to them, or is it something here to enhance? Because I would imagine it's a bit of both, but like, where are you seeing that divide, at least in theory now, and data?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. It is still a bit of both. And I think that with people changing their lifestyle, it doesn't happen overnight. And that's what Make Me Fit Club is. It's about that long-term change. So even though it is a bit of both, it is very much geared towards working alongside what the person is going through at the moment or what their lifestyle is. Because we actually, after the classes, which provides your foundation knowledge, that one-to-one session and programs and live kind of co-creation is specific to that individual. So if an individual is, for example, brand new to their well-being and taking care of it, the professionals will take it on as that and work a lot slower with them to make sure that they provide that foundation, but then something attainable for them long term. If somebody is very good at fitness and they basically just see this as a kind of a plus, they want to access more so the therapy side of things, or they want extra help with their nutrition, it works alongside for those sorts of members, but it's different for each one. And that's the great thing about Make Me Fit Club. We're not a program that one size fits all. We're specific and tailored to the individual.
So it's both both ends of the spectrum, from someone who isolated, terrible healthy lifestyle, let's say, no real routine, right up to the other end of the gym nut who's there every day, pushing it hard. There's value to be had on both sides.
1,000,000%, because I was a gym nut, but I needed help with my therapy and I did not know where to go. Like, short of Googling people on and trying to find somebody local, somebody who would, who had the time, or we bridge that gap. So on the app, for example, if somebody was like me and was a gym nut and then just was like, actually, I want to see and work on my therapy and work on my mental health, they can come on board and look at that. There might be other people that I used to eat a lot of processed food, so I started to cut that out and cook from fresh ingredients. And other people might not feel so comfortable cooking with fresh ingredients, and then they can access some nutritional chefs, which can then help work with the nutritionist to show you how to create these dishes that are healthy and tasty.
So as a whole then, we've already identified it's fairly unique, if not completely unique. Where do you see this being placed in the market as far as any potential rivalry, anything that you've maybe seen already? Where's its place, would you say, in the market? How would you interpret that question?
So the place in the market, there's two ways really. For the members, it's a completely new way of looking at their well-being, right? And for professionals, it's a completely new way of accessing new clients that they wouldn't have had access to beforehand. So I definitely see it as being completely niche in that respect, but also long term, the kind of apps that are out there, for one, are one dimensional, or they work on certain areas of well-being, and they have their subset of individuals that train and run programs, unlike us that actually onboards different professionals. So it gives a platform for these professionals to, really showcase what skills they've got, they're qualified, they're insured, this is what we can offer the community. So I definitely see us as being completely unique to what's on the market, and sitting alongside the current fitness/mindfulness apps, but not really being a direct competitor in that sense. It's more so elements of each.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So, of course, there's mindful apps. Is Calm one of the most popular ones?
Yeah.
Are there apps already for like personal trainers?
Yeah, so there's a lot of fitness apps, so there's a lot of programs for fitness. So more so than, you've got your live instructors. There is live elements to different apps, as you'll see on the market, but we don't hire a small subset of individuals. So we're not saying this is the 3 core fitness instructors that's going to deliver you a program, and it's going to be a 4-week program. So when we're looking at different fitness apps and different mindfulness apps and different therapy kind of apps, there's no app that combines all 3, but then that has a real person at the other end of that line every single time.
Could it be something that I just want therapy? Mm-hmm. Could it be something that I just come to for therapy?
Yes, because you've got a pool of therapists there from all over the UK. So when you're looking at your therapy, and we're still growing, so we're onboarding professionals all the time. So when you're looking at like, I want to address my mental health, I want to look at for a therapist, Make Me Fit Club is still the place for you. And what we also do on the app is we have a community section where if you're looking for a therapist, you might also be looking for a support system. And that community section provides that support system as well. So it might just not be that you're looking for therapy in isolation. It might be, okay, I want to access the community. I want to be part of the community of Make Me Fit Club. I want to have that support system. And then that might open you up to, working with our humanitarian club in local charities, for example, that we support, because it's that whole helping people to help yourself. So there's loads of different aspects that you'll gain benefit from, even if you just came on the app for one specific thing.
And of course, community being a massive part of this as well. Massive. But you've mentioned, of course, that it's like it's live. You've got people like whenever you need them, more or less on call. Do you see that being something that you're either currently doing, or do you see that as something where you could start pushing that as like live events as well? So like with the community as well, yeah. People want to meet, right? So yes. if we're all getting on, I'll come on to the community a little bit more, but specifically, is this something you want to build into like in-person live as well?
1,000,000%. So it's so last week actually I said I want to do a health and wellbeing event in the new year. I want it to be massive. I want it to showcase fitness, nutrition and mental health in the best way possible. So therapy booths, counselling pods, live fitness, nutritional chefs. There's a massive kind of scope there of what I want to do to showcase the app and to bring the community that's already on the app to something where they can actually meet each other. So that's definitely something that we're looking to do and looking to sustain as well as we kind of go through. So after this event, we would do health and wellbeing events, health and wellbeing festivals, and then eventually something along the lines of maybe like a retreat. So it gets people in the community out. So the first one will be in Birmingham. But as we start to then expand to different cities, we want to create local ecosystems in every city. So as we've developed the local ecosystem here in Birmingham, we'll go to another city and develop that ecosystem there. So they've got that support, and then we will run them in each of the cities that we have members from that city on. And then in addition to that, we will also be looking at larger events for the larger ecosystem, so bringing different people from the country into one space, which is big dreams, aspirations of where we kind of want to go. But the focus right now is developing and bringing that ecosystem here in Birmingham together.
Yeah, well, this is ground zero, right? This is where
we're
testing
zero.
it and building it. But I really like what you just said. So aside the community, of course, like if people are doing this, the events, it just helps feed it, helps grow that awareness. Yeah. But what I really liked about what you just said as well is like these little pockets of community that you're going to start to build from. Because in theory, and I don't know if you've considered this, but each one of the personal trainers who are already self-employed probably already have their own clients. You're trying to convince them to put their time onto this app live. They could, in theory, then also become like, in a sense, affiliate marketers for you. So you want to try, I'm going to grow this in, let's say, Manchester. You go out, you do some, like an event, some sort of awareness, get 5 different personal trainers, therapists, 5 of each category. Each one of those says to their clients, you don't have to meet me in person anymore if you don't want to, because this app facilitates that.
Yeah.
So then you could, in theory, alongside the community, use the professionals to also pull their community into it as well.
1,000,000%, and that just ties in with pulling their community in that can really benefit from the other services on the app as well. So it completely 100% what you said there. I think that is definitely one of the aspects of these events and getting the professionals involved. And what we also want to do is make sure that those professionals are also have like a base as well. So it's not just, okay, you're on this app and you kind of co-create to help the other members, but they can also access the services. So if you imagine if you're like a personal trainer that's going through something with mental health, for example, you can also access the classes as part of your subscription. So it's about providing them with the support as well. So when we do then go to different cities and we meet face to face and we have that kind of that event and that like melting pot of people, they also have their own goals and personal well-being journey met as well.
Well, I love it. I think you've got a lot of work ahead for sure. But no, I can like so I did a little bit of research for this. Definitely agree that like I've not seen anything with the vision that you've got for it, and if there are like other apps and places that are doing it live, I don't think anyone's tapping into it the way you're tapping into it for sure. I'm excited by the whole aspect of it, especially like the community and how this could potentially start snowballing once people are actually getting a taste for it. Both the professionals having a place where they can now diversify and make their lifestyle of doing this more convenient, as well as the people that directly benefit from it. So you touched a little bit on like when we were talking about how you get it across the country, these little pockets, like the dream. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where's this going to be? Like you wave a magic wand, what's it look like?
In 10 years, we see Make Me Fit Club as a household name for wellbeing. We see it as it's standing alone, independent, with all this buckets of knowledge from all these professionals, reaching as many people that's struggling with their well-being as much as possible, and to really being that, okay, I think I need help in my well-being, Make Me Fit Club. I want to get fit, I want to stay healthy, Make Me Fit Club. I want to be trained by real people, Make Me Fit Club, not a program. So that's where I see it in 10 years. And just going back to the communities, that is so big for Make Me Fit Club. It's not just about, creating those communities in the wellbeing space. It's about creating those communities to help the local community. So one element of Make Me Fit Club is the humanitarian clubs, where we partner with local charities. So not only do we donate to these local charities, any member, any expert on our app can also volunteer. So it creates that community that way as well, but it also helps to the charities that's local to them that might be something that they're interested in. They also can get involved in that just like we are. So we're partnered here with Let's Feed Run, which is a charity to feed the homeless. We're partnered with Anna Wim, which is a charity to help women here in Birmingham going through different changes in their life. So we want that community to be bigger than just well-being.
By the sounds of it then, it's just a big push on awareness next year. So
Yes.
you've got the technology, you've tested it, it's working.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other things you want to sprinkle into it as you go along. But next year is the big push. Let's get it out there. Let's get users.
Yeah, next year is all about getting those users, getting that foundation, and then just building.
That's amazing. Well, if I'm still doing this next year, I think we'll have to do this again next
A
year.
1,000,000%.
Follow this story. I know we're already going to be probably talking throughout the year anyway.
1,000,000%.
But I would definitely love to capture this throughout. It might be fun to see a little
it'd be
diary
so
entry once a
fun.
year maybe. But I think we're probably going to have to conclude here, unfortunately.
Definitely.
For now, these are short, but I hope you've had fun.
Thank you so
for your
much,
time.
Dan. I've had such a good time.